Caroline Weldon, a white woman's ill-fated crusade to aid Sitting Bull in the late 1880s. Caroline Weldon became a figure of controversy, a white woman vilified for her close association with Lakota leader Sitting Bull. Accused of being in love with him and labeled a meddling outsider, she faced public scorn. Her mission to support the Sioux people and Sitting Bull ultimately ended in tragedy for them both. Weldon arrived at the Standing Rock Reservation in 1889 with a strong sense of purpose. Neither welcomed by the Sioux community nor understood by the white settlers nearby, she was fleeing a past marked by social rejection in the East, accompanied only by her young son. Despite the odds, she was determined to help the Sioux resist a federal government intent on stripping them of their land, rights, and culture. However, her efforts failed, and Weldon quickly became an outcast. As tensions rose leading up to Sitting Bull's death, she worked as his secretary and advocate, using her voice to speak out against the government's harsh treatment of Native Americans. At a time when racism was deeply embedded in both society and law, her stance made her a target of ridicule and suspicion. Weldon was one of the only white people of her era, man or woman, who not only supported Native American rights but devoted her life to fighting for them, says Eileen Pollock, author of Woman Walking Ahead, In Search of Catherine Weldon and Sitting Bull. Pollock's biography, which recounts Weldon's tragic efforts to aid the Lakota, inspired the 2018 historical drama Woman Walks Ahead. Weldon's life story was anything but conventional. Born Susanna Feisch in Switzerland, she immigrated to the United States with her mother after her parents' divorce. She married a Swiss doctor and settled in Brooklyn, but the marriage was unhappy. Leaving her husband for another man, she later gave birth to a son. When that relationship ended, she found herself alone, an unmarried mother, in a society that punished women for defying strict gender norms. Her actions made her a social outcast. In an era when divorce was scandalous and single motherhood without a husband was nearly unthinkable, Susanna faced significant stigma. Adding to her social isolation, the terms of her divorce barred her from remarrying, even though her ex-husband was free to do so. Despite her personal hardships, Weldon had long been interested in the plight of Native Americans. As the United States pushed westward, debates raged over how to treat the native peoples. The Indian Appropriations Act of 1851 had established the first reservations, theoretically allowing tribes to govern themselves. In practice, these reservations became tools of control, limiting the freedom and autonomy of Native communities. Many white Americans viewed Native culture as a threat to American values. They promoted assimilation policies, believing that indigenous people should adopt farming, Christianity, and the English language. As this mindset gained traction, a small number of voices rose in opposition. Weldon joined one such group, the National Indian Defense Association, founded by Thomas Bland. The organization fought for Native sovereignty and opposed legislation like the Dawes Act, which sought to dissolve tribal lands into individual plots, forcibly assimilate Native children through boarding schools, and seize unallocated tribal lands. When the Dawes Act passed in 1887, efforts to apply its provisions to the Sioux intensified. Upon learning that Sitting Bull opposed these moves, Susanna began writing to him. In 1889, she left New York behind, determined to help the Lakota resist encroaching federal policy. She had nothing to lose, says Pollock. She'd already been shamed by society, and she didn't care anymore. Reinventing herself, she adopted a new name, Caroline Weldon. Among the Sioux, her presence was unusual, but initially accepted. Weldon worked closely with Sitting Bull, warning him of the dangers he faced if he supported the ghost dance movement, a spiritual revival that U.S. officials feared could spark rebellion. Though Weldon cautioned that the movement could make him a target, Sitting Bull was not persuaded. Weldon's opposition to the dance strained their relationship, and eventually she left the reservation. They truly meant something to each other, Pollock notes. Their parting was painful for both of them. Weldon's fears soon proved valid. In 1890, just a year after she left, government agents arrested and killed Sitting Bull during a failed attempt to suppress the ghost dance. Weldon, now alone, lost her son and returned to Brooklyn. Her association with Native Americans, who were widely despised by mainstream white society, left her ostracized. She died in poverty 2 decades later, after a fire caused by a candle consumed her apartment. Despite her passion and efforts, Weldon and her fellow activists were unable to change use policy. The so-called Sioux Bill reduced the tribe's land and destroyed much of their economic independence. While Weldon was a welcomed ally and provided valuable support to Sitting Bull, her decision to take on the role of spokesperson for the Sioux without their request raises questions of agency and self-appointment. Still, Pollock argues Weldon's story is worth remembering. It's vital to honor the rare individuals who defied the norms of their time, often at great personal cost, to stand up for justice, she says. By aligning herself with the Lakota people and championing Sitting Bull, Caroline Weldon tried to make America live up to its own ideals.